Hello there, guys! As I promised, I'm gonna make a spoiler review for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But this time, I have a very special surprise for you. I have a special guest with me. Say hi to my mom!
Hi, hello.
So, you might think, what the hell's going on here? The thing is, well, I came up with this weird but amazing idea about bringing an average Joe with me to review this movie, like to make the contrast between the average Joe of moviegoers, being my mom, and me being the superhero and comics geek, and with that contrast, give you a more condensed view of the movie, and with what works and what doesn't. And well, yeah, we're gonna both make our points with a few questions we said, and we to assure you that our opinions are not biased to one another because well she's my mom. We taped the our opinions separately because I haven't read her notes and she hasn't read mine, and we're only gonna listen to them when we edit this video. So I hope you enjoy. Say hi to my mom.
Hi, I hope you enjoy the review. Bye.
Okay, first question.
Too much? No, not at all. In fact, I remember when I asked you how long the movie was, and when you told me 2 hours plus, I thought, oh my, I'm not going to make it. But then I didn't even notice when we came to the end. So, but one thing I will have to say about too much is that after Gwen dies, that moment means enough. I would not expect or like anything more than that ending. Now I realize why there was no Mary Jane in this movie. As a woman, I tell you, I need to see Spidey, having this mourning and warm recovery after Gwen's death.
The first thing that comes to mind is that the movie is too rushed and there's too much going on. But I think that's not the case here. As I said in my spoiler-free review, I think the reason the movie is presented in this way is because they want to give you the Peter Parker experience. I've said before in other reviews that Spider-Man's life is like a roller coaster. It has its ups and downs, the good and the bad, but the two things that are constantly repeating are, number one, in his life, bad will always come before good, as we saw in The Amazing Spider-Man 1 with all the crap that happened there. Then we see the good in this movie where he's enjoying being Spider-Man, and then the cycle repeats with Gwen's death. Number two, whatever crap he's dealing with is always going to be a bunch of things happening at the same time. The difference between this movie and a rushed movie is that a rushed movie wouldn't make any sense. I will admit this movie isn't perfect and that there are some weird moments, but the flow of the movie is not affected by those things at all, in my opinion. An example of a rushed movie would be Spider-Man 3, where there's a lot going on, but what happens in that movie and the reasons they happen for make no sense. That's not the case in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Everything that happens is a direct consequence of something else. For example, number one, Electro's origin isn't just an accident because it's clearly implied that it was an experiment from Oscorp to continue with the cross-species project. And the motivations for him to become a villain are quite obvious. Psychologically, he sees everyone as a potential bully. He's been messed with his entire life. Nobody gave a crap about him. And now that he has power, he'll be the bully. It's as simple as that. Number two, cross-species project. The cross-species project it's an ongoing thing because Norman wants to cure himself. But now that they had all that drama with Dr. Connors, they need to lay low and do things under the table. Once Norman dies, like he's dead, Harry continues looking for a cure because he's sick too. He seeks for Peter's and Spider-Man's help. He says he wants Spider-Man's blood because it seems to have worked on him. Peter says no because of what happened with Dr. Connors. He isn't sure that his blood would do any good, but later on he discovers that the only reason he got his powers was because the venom of those super spiders was mixed with his father's blood, so only a blood relative could use that venom. That assures to Peter that, in fact, he must not let Harry take the drug, but by the time Harry comes around again, it's too late. Number 3, it's too late because Harry looked for the wrong help instead of waiting for Spider-Man to decide. Spidey did agree to help him, he just didn't know how. But being at the edge of death, you can understand his overreaction. Actually, you can see throughout the movie how Harry keeps getting worse, with bruises and red eyes, etc. Number 4, probably the most important connection in this movie would be Peter's decision to be with Gwen. Throughout the movie, we see Peter struggling to decide if he can be with Gwen or not. He sees Captain Stacy's ghost everywhere, reminding him of the promise he made to him. But it isn't until Peter finds his dad's last recording saying that, among other important things like the big mystery, if there's one thing he regrets is that he probably will not be able to see his son anymore. Here's where Peter realizes the theme of this movie. There's never enough time. Even Gwen asks at the beginning of the movie that if they were to break up because of him being Spider-Man, who would benefit from that? None of them. And that's the point. Because of Gwen's death at the end, this idea becomes incredibly relevant. If Peter had made up his mind, he would have had more time with Gwen. Number 5. Another thing they make very clear is that Gwen's death is not Peter's responsibility. Gwen chose to be with him. Gwen chose to go help him. Gwen chose to stay. She said, "Nobody makes my choices for me." And what that implies is that it's not that being with Peter killed her. It's not that Peter himself killed her at the fall like in the comics. It's just that he couldn't save her. As she said in her speech, "We may feel invincible, but we are not."
Excellent, excellent. I loved all the performance, especially Sally Field. It was like seeing her in the great old drama movies. Well, let's point out, she's older than me, but I saw all her movies. I mean, she's an Oscar-winning actress, so I bet she felt great in this character, like the old times, you know. Let's see, Gwen Stacy, adorable. What a sweetie and strong woman. She really achieved a character that no man can forget. And boys, great, also great. Spidey is so cute and so real. He was so real that I wouldn't bring a little boy to this movie, you know. I think because you have to be a mature person to understand him. Otherwise, a little boy, I don't know, I think that could get confused and even think that Spidey is a little selfish or even bad.
Some people say this franchise has no soul. They say that the characters aren't well characterized. Yeah, you know I'm talking to you. Don't take it personal, man. I'm just using your point as an example because I've heard it somewhere else and I thought it would be cool to mention your comment. So anyway, well, I think those people are in their right to have their opinion, but if this franchise isn't well characterized, then I don't really know what the old one was. I mean, I've said it before, I liked them for what they were, but anyone who says those movies are superior than these is probably blinded by nostalgia. I mean, I was for a while, but I mean, you have to open your eyes. Yeah, you have to open your eyes eventually. I'm not saying you have to like this movie. I'm saying at least give it the benefit of the doubt. Take MJ, for example. Her character was the worst thing in that entire franchise. I mean, first of all, she obviously knew Peter was Spider-Man, but she chose to make his life a living hell instead of coming clean with him. Second, she was a gold digger. And third, Tobey and her had absolutely no chemistry. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's chemistry is all over the place, we know that. Even when they are not together as a couple, they have chemistry. But as separated characters, they equally shine. You understand why they do what they do, and because of Emma's performance, Gwen's death is twice as shocking. Even if you know that's going to happen, it's one thing to know what's going to happen, and it's another to see it happening. The villains are simple, they are old-fashioned, single-minded villains. That's why they become evil. They were already insane. Max Dillon, for example, he's talking to pictures of Spider-Man in his mirror. And Harry is paranoid, vengeful, manipulative, and kind of a douche. Didn't you see the way he acted when he took Mencken down with Electro? Finally, Aunt May. She's the motherly figure who loves and takes care of Peter no matter what. And again, it's clearly implied the fact that she knows Peter is Spider-Man. Oh, and the best example of what a good actor Andrew Garfield really is obviously Gwen's death scene. The way he delivers that scene, the way he cries. Wow, well, the one thing Toby never did for me was deliver the sadness. I liked him in everything else, but that was just out of his league.
No, not at all. He's just a teenager. Despite of his hard life, you can tell that contrary to what usually happens to all villains, this boy will be a good grown man, probably because he received the love of his uncles.
Okay, I've heard these questions since the first movie, and it's starting to bother me. Spider-Man is an awkward and gawky character, but to the villains he fights, he's actually a very good guy to everyone else. Take the kid. He saved him from a bunch of school bullies, showing that no crime is too small for Spider-Man, and inspired him to be the best he could be in his life. Case in point, the ending of this movie. Another example, the firefighters. Being involved in so many dangerous situations, fire isn't an exception for Spider-Man. So we see he has made himself a friend among the firefighters, as we see in the Times Square fight. When they defeat Electro, Spidey congratulates them and actually knows their names. I don't remember them, but it was something like, "Well done guys, Bob, John, Big Mike," something like that. Spider-Man is a model citizen, a role model, and overall a good guy in this franchise. Period. I mean, even with Electro in the Times Square fight, he remembered him. He remembered him. I thought they were gonna fight because he wouldn't remember him, but he did. He called him. Yeah, you're the guy with the blueprints, right? He remembered him. Of course, he doesn't remember his name. I mean, come on, but he remembered him. He's a good guy. Come on, guys, stop asking this question.
Well, I don't know about hating, but there were moments where I felt that the movie was like cut and not well edited. Like Norman's death, they tell us, but I would like to see it. It should be like a drama instead of an announcement. If they both are such an important characters, it should be an important moment, and they don't address that in the movie.
As a balanced person I am, I will accept the one god-awful thing about this franchise, and that is the people in charge of the advertising. Why on God's earth is there a scene in all the trailers and TV spots that is not in the freaking movie? That is the only thing that really makes no sense to me. I want to point out that neither the actors nor the director of these movies are responsible for the advertising. That's up to Sony. We tend to forget that and start blaming all the wrong people. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time. Bye bye.